Hello, OCI. Look, I am very hoarse this evening. I have a little bit of laryngitis, so I hope you will bear with me. We're also missing half of the leadership team tonight, so if there's any technical difficulties, please be patient with John and I. We are doing our absolute best. Thank you guys so much for being here. Who's here for the first time tonight? Let's give them a very warm welcome. Thank you so much. We hope that you will join us in the weeks going forward. This is a slower time of year for us because a lot of people are traveling, but there's a lot of work to be done right now. And we need all hands on deck for what's happening right now in the Bay Area and beyond. OCI's sole focus is stopping any agenda built on racism, authoritarianism, and corruption. That typically means we're working on elections, education, and emergencies, some combination. Guess what? Aren't you glad the primaries are over? Now it's election season, so we get to gear right back up, okay? We're headed into a big election year. This is going to be very, very important. And we have a couple local emergencies that we need to address too. We always hope to pack some education in here. I'm Celeste Walker. I'm your chair and founder. We've been doing this 10 years now. We love it. We'll still come back. Please help yourself to food if you haven't. Mara and Lamb are both out of town tonight, but John Comiskey is here running the Zoom. And if you have any questions, if you're attending online, please let him know. For everybody's safety, in case there is an emergency of any kind tonight, there are 3 exits. Most of you probably came in that door over there or this one over here. They also work as exits. And then there's another door over here. You'll also find the bathrooms through there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, raise your hand. In the very unlikely event that we have a disruption tonight, I ask that you all stay calm, seated, and quiet. Don't engage with disruptors. Don't try and get them to calm down. It never works. Since Mara is not here, I am going to nominate my son Lorenzo in the back to be the one to call 911. It doesn't work if everybody calls 911 at once, so he and only he will be the one to do so. I'll tell you what to do. All right, we're going to get right to it, and I'm going to let you know also, we have somebody from the Rapid Response Network who's actually up in Dublin participating in the action up there right now. Hui Tran from SIREN. He's their executive director. He's going to let me know when he pops on Zoom that he's available, and then he's going to provide his update. That might be at any point during the meeting. So I will let you know, but just know, please, that we might get interrupted and we're going to turn our attention to him. All right, everything we do. I don't know why the screen share isn't working that way. I'm so sorry. Let me try this again. Everything we do, we put on this fancy link tree that we have here. This one's ours. You can take, use the QR code, or go directly to the website, which will be up in just a second when my slides open again. That's where I put all of the actions and events that we're promoting throughout that current week or day. I'm trying my best to update it daily. If you have anything you want me to add, calls to action, upcoming events, resources, I also wanted to let folks know, if this is something that you access regularly, please note that today I just added a new section that's called ICE Out of California. That's going to be where you're going to find all the actions, events, and resources specifically for those things. That's changing very, very quickly. And so it's in its own section, but it's quite easy to find on the link tree. If you need help accessing link tree, I'm happy to help you, but this is the hub for all of our information. I also want to let you know we are very excited to be participating this year in Sacred Heart's Pack-a-Back project. This is something that my office with Hosh Kalra has done for years, and this is, I think, the first year Swing Left and OCI have participated. We are going to be collecting donations for TK to 12th grade, they have some very specific asks. It's always, this room is really able to produce a lot when we do these drives for local places. So I hope that we can collect a lot of things for the folks at Sacred Heart. We will be collecting at OCI and South Bay Swing Left. So 2 weeks from now on June 22nd, during the Swing Left meeting, we'll be collecting the supplies. And then 2 weeks after that, when we're back with OCI at the beginning of July, we'll be collecting. Also, my office, Osh Culver's office, is collecting Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 in our downtown location. So if you think you can help or want to make a fiscal donation instead of purchasing supplies, that is more than welcome too. All these slides are going to be sent out to you via email, by the way. Don't feel like you have to get down all of this information. All right, you may have noticed at the back of the room, there are lots of whistle kits being put together. Lorenzo, would you join us up here? So with the blessing of the communities that are doing the work on the ground, OCI has been building whistle kits for communities at risk of ICE being in their neighborhoods or workplaces. In those whistle kits, we have a whistle, 3,000 of which were printed by an OCI member using a 3D printer. So that's amazing. And no cost, he just donated, he made them and donated. So a big round of applause for that. That was awesome. We also have the yellow cards, which you've probably seen. These, thank you. She's holding that one up in the back of the room. They're at the round table back there. The yellow cards have the information for our local rapid response network. So Santa Clara County has one of the largest, one of the first, and one of the most effective rapid response networks in the country. That helps immigrants. If there is an ICE sighting, you can report it. If your loved one is taken by ICE, they will help you get to a lawyer. They will be there with you at the court dates. They're a wonderful, wonderful organization. And I think a lot of people in this room have received the rapid response training, which means you're on call to go and be a legal observer and help keep the neighborhood safe by making sure that someone's documenting everything that's going on. So the whistle kits are kind of another layer of that. They also have the red cards in English and Spanish, which inform people of their rights. So all they have to do is press it up against a window and say, I do not want to talk to the agent. Then there's a card that talks about how to use the whistle. So 3 short blows, what that means, 1 long blow, what that means. We're asking people to help build them. We're doing them in Spanish tonight, but we also have Vietnamese ones because we have the largest Vietnamese population outside of Vietnam right here in Santa Clara County. So there are other folks at risk too. We're asking folks not only to help build them, but help distribute them. Mimi has distributed hundreds through her church, which is amazing. And I'm asking folks to help by taking half dozen, a dozen, or a whole bag full if you feel like you're able. And Lorenzo has been brainstorming some ideas where you might be able to leave them or distribute them for folks. So if you want to share what we've come up with tonight.
Cool. Hi, I'm Lorenzo. So this is my mom.
He was this big. The camera's over here, Lorenzo.
Oh, over here. Oh, sorry.
10 years ago when we started, he was a lot shorter than me, and I had more tattoos than he did. So thank you for being here to help me tonight.
Yeah, of course, some of you guys might recognize me from the 5 years that I spent here. If you haven't, or if you're wondering where I've been in the last 4 years, I've been in the old room every Tuesday, wondering where you guys are. I came up with some ideas for where to bring these whistle kits. The first one is schools. That's the easiest. You can bring them to pretty much any school district. Go to the front office and they'll take them, distribute them to kids or after school programs. The next idea is libraries. Your city and county libraries usually will accept them. If you don't have luck there, you can definitely try your local like little free libraries. You can just leave them in there for people to take as they see them. Like my mom said, churches are a great one. If you know that the gatherings would be open to that kind of thing, bring them there. The other one is protests, gatherings, bring a handful of them, distribute them to people who need them, spread the word about them. Another good one is community centers. Bring them to your local community center, leaving them for people to take. And you're still wondering for more ones, maybe ones that are less out of your way. Local businesses are a good way to go. You can bring these to coffee shops, bookstores, markets. Just small business owners are usually pretty nice people. The worst they can do is say no. So bring them, offer them, and offer an explanation. If you have any questions about them, I'll be back at the table making more of them, and I'd be happy to help.
Can I get a show of hands of everyone in the room who would be willing to take 6 tonight to start to find a home for them? Awesome, that's fantastic, and you're more than welcome to take more. The idea is that people are able to grab them discreetly, and it's good, you can always keep them in your car too. Okay. Some of you may have heard, this is a little confusing. You may have heard that there is an event being put on by No Kings in conjunction with the Committee for the First Amendment and Indivisible coming up on June 14th. This is called Rise Up, Sing Out. This is not a rally, so we're not going to be meeting at St. James Park like the last. We will be doing that again a lot, but this one is specifically about live music. So they are doing a live stream with a lot of wonderful artists and asking folks to host watch parties. So I believe it's at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So here it'll be starting at 4 p.m. I tried, y'all, the church is not available. I'm so disappointed. We cannot be in here at 4 p.m. On Sunday. So if anybody has a location where you might want to host just friends and family or a few of your friends from here at OCI, we're looking to do one. There is not one locally yet. Together We Will, Scatus, Indivisible doesn't have one. Indivisible San Jose, there isn't one in the region yet. So if you have an idea for a place where you might want to host one with assistance from Swing Left and OCI, happy to get you on the right track. That said, there is an action taking place in Gilroy. How many of you, when I say Gilroy, already know what I'm talking about? That's great. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to be talking later in the meeting. There is a planned ICE facility currently being built in Gilroy. The crazy thing is, the last time we talked 1 month ago, this was one of the calls to action from Big Indivisible, and I said, we're so lucky. Right now, there's nothing in our region. They have this wonderful map that identifies the buildings that are purchased by the federal government. Guess what? Within 2 weeks of that, it came to light that there have been 20 acres purchased in unincorporated Gilroy, with plans and work already taking place for a facility that will work in partnership with other ICE facilities in the state, including the one they're trying to reopen in Dublin. So the great news is the community has rallied, has organized. There are very successful models of how to prevent this from happening. I can tell you that at the city level, the state level, county level, we are doing everything we can. I'm going to update you on what those things are. But the most important thing right now is that there is a huge public outcry saying, no, we will not accept this in Santa Clara County. We will not accept this in California. This isn't happening. With that said, the group, one of the groups that's doing the work on the ground, No Ice Gilroy, or Ice Out Gilroy, I'm sorry, is planning an action from 1 to 3 p.m. at the location of the facility that's being built. If there is one thing that you can do, one thing you could take away, I would say this is the moment to start to activate, to start to get a little bit outside your comfort zone. There's no reason to believe this is going to be a situation where folks are going to get arrested or that's going to be dangerous. But it is very, very important that we stand with the immigrant community in this moment and let them know we're here. We know what's happening and we're not going to accept it. This is part of a larger infrastructure that's trying to come into our area and into our state. So it's important that even these smaller cities, these out of the way things, it's really important that we get out there and say, no, this is not happening in our communities. It's important that we show up when our undocumented neighbors can't too. So if there's one thing you do, this action is on the link tree. Gilroy, the address is there. That 7240 Holsclaw Road is the address of the new facility. But they have an action plan. This is all new, so I'll share details on Facebook. Okay, now moving along to the actions from Big Indivisible. There's a bunch of them. There's a lot of federal stuff happening. As a reminder, every Thursday at noon, there's a What's the Plan with Leah and Ezra, the two co-founders and executive directors of Big Indivisible at the national level. I am looking for somebody who can commit to attending or watching the recordings of these and reporting back at our once a month meeting. Unfortunately, I work in government. A lot of Thursdays I have meetings, and I would love somebody who can spare even 1 or 2 of the hours. I don't expect you to attend all 4, but if you think that might be you, we're looking for some support for our leadership team. As you can hear, this is not the night that I would choose to be here, but we're shorthanded, so I need some other folks. If you're afraid to talk on the microphone, to share the what's the plan, I'm happy to do the talking if you just make notes for what was said in the meetings. And again, these are recorded, so you don't even have to watch them at noon. So please find me after the meeting if that might be you. All right, how many of you are following what's happening at Delaney Hall? Okay. I know that we're going to be really focused on what's happening at the local level, but what's happening at Delaney Hall is pretty incredible. There are hunger strikes going on inside the ICE facility. People who are currently being detained, the conditions are abominable, inhumane, and they are trying to continue to draw media attention. This is not getting as much attention on mainstream media as it should be. So we're asking you to call your reps and senators and demand that they address the captives' very reasonable demands, which are things like clean water, edible food, access to phones so they can get legal representation. As this creeps towards us, our own backyard, we really need to be supporting the folks on the ground there too. There are people who have been out there protesting every day. So please, if you can, make that phone call. While you're at it, tell them, oh, by the way, there's still a war going on in Iran. That's we're not even thinking or talking about it, but money is continuing to be spent while we're being told there's not money for healthcare. When you call your senators and your reps, you don't need to make multiple phone calls. You can make a list and say, I'm calling about what's happening with the ICE budget. I'm calling about what's happening with the war in Iran. I've got a laundry list tonight. You can make one phone call. Please be nice to the staffers. Please share your full name and at least your zip code so they can record who you are and confirm that you're a constituent when you call in. I work for the state. I cannot record comments to share with my boss unless you can tell me that you're a constituent. And I can tell you that volume is really what matters on these. It doesn't matter if my boss is in Sacramento. If I get 300 calls in a day and my whole staff is picking up the phone and I have to stop doing other things that I'm working on, I guarantee you I will be talking to my chief of staff and saying, hey, this is a really important issue to the constituents. So these calls do matter. I know we've been doing it for 10 years. I'm sick of making phone calls. It matters. Call in the middle of the night, leave a message if you don't want to talk to a real person, but please be nice to staff. They're people like me. Oh, and while you were sleeping, call your members of Congress to end the illegal blockade on Cuba. We are on the brink of also going to war with Cuba. So while you're calling about Iran and ICE, tell them we do not want to be imposing sanctions and restrictions that are hurting the Cuban people. All of these QR codes go to our link tree. The links will take you to a full detailed script with a one-button click to either send an email or make a phone call. We could not make it easier. All right. Another thing that happened, there is a $1.8 billion slush fund that is going to be made available to January 6th insurrectionists. This one, there has been a pause on it by the courts. We want the courts to make the correct ruling and say that yeah, Coley.
People have been paid already.
Yeah.
Have got $1 million and none of you have, so.
Yeah. Again, while they're making it harder to get SNAP benefits and Medicaid and Medi-Cal and all of these vital services, they're paying insurrectionists, January 6th insurrectionists, $1 million here and there. So we want to hold this one off too. Okay, finally, from the calls from Big Indivisible, Trump has put another horribly unqualified political ally in the intelligence seat. He is not qualified. Congress needs to use its leverage to stop this, or I'm sorry, to reverse this appointment. So we're asking you also to email your members of Congress on this topic. Lots of stuff going on at the national level. Okay, I'm going to move to our breakout groups. These are groups within OCI where a wonderful person has stepped to the front and said, I want to lead the climate justice team. In this case, that's Mimi. Come on up, Mimi. Give her a warm welcome. I'm going to play a short video that she sent. Hopefully.
Imagine you walk into your local hardware store. You buy a solar panel, you take it home, you plug it in, and boom. Just like that,
Right.
You're using the power of the sun. This new technology is real, and it's called balcony solar or plug-in solar, and it's taking off in places like Germany, but it has yet to really arrive in the United States. Let's change that. I'm Kaylee, Advocacy and Development Director with the Solar Rights Alliance, here to put the power back in your hands. Plug-in solar are portable solar panels that plug into a regular wall outlet, just like a toaster. One panel can power a refrigerator, a home computer, and a few lights. Combine a few together, and you'd have enough power to run a window unit air conditioner. Renters and homeowners alike can hang these off balconies, lean them up against mobile homes, or put them in a patio or a yard. It has a lot of potential, but the utilities want to make consumers go through red tape and pay fees in order to use them. Our goal is to eliminate those barriers, and you can help. SB 868 is a bill in the California State Legislature that would let consumers use plug-in solar panels without utility fees or red tape. Click on the link in bio today to ask your legislator to vote yes on SB 868.
Just give a little for that. And then for those of you using the
Hi, everyone. So that's a really great bill to allow plug-in solar in California, as this advocate was saying from the Solar Rights Alliance. That is a bipartisan group. So that would enable more people to have solar in their homes, literally plug into outlets. It is SB 868 and it is going to the Senate. So it's now, sorry, it got really loud. It's now going to the assembly, so please call your assembly members to support this bill, and that video will be on the link tree. Next slide, please.
Can you see that, John, on the no screen share? Okay, go ahead, Mimi. Keep going.
Okay, so on the next slide is a senior wellness hike. You don't have to be a senior to go. It will be next Tuesday at Mount Lumham. What are you telling me to do?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I can't go up. So that will be on Mount Lumham, which is a sacred site in San Jose, and that would be next Tuesday. It's free. They provide snacks and water and lunch, and so that sign up will also be on the link tree. For more information, that organization is called savebynature.org, right? Because it's nice to be saved by nature. Many of us are. Next slide, please. Oh, and then the county supervisors in April voted to divest from fossil fuels. How cool is that? And we've been working on that for 10 years as
Yeah.
well. I'll look for my t-shirt. I don't know if I'll fit it, but I'll look for it. And then one more final slide is, this is a call to action from the Center of Biological Diversity to allow more funding for our schools to have more climate resiliency. And I know from the Make Polluters Pay bill that I've talked to you about a lot, for every dollar spent in resiliency offsets $13 in damages. So of course we want our kids to have healthy schools, proper air ventilation so they can learn very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mimi. All righty. South Bay Swing Left, come on down. Give Swing Left a big warm welcome.
Hi, everybody. We are new to South Bay Swing Left, and we provide an on-ramp for grassroots volunteers to strategically channel their most precious resources, which is time and money. And we take issues and races that matter most, starting with mega extremism and eliminating or actually electing Democrat voters. So that's what we're about. Next slide, please. So tonight we have 200 postcards to write to elected in Texas. And we only have 10 left. So here's what you see me, and I can make more. Come pick them up from our house anytime. So this is a real chance to flip this Senate seat. And he's a great candidate that appeals to voters that are frustrated with bank extremism. So please write and do what you can to support. And you have until mid-August, so plenty of time. As Celeste said, we're really excited that the primaries are complete, even though not everything is tallied per se. But we want to thank each and every one of you for all done as far as canvassing, ground truth canvassing in Los Banos, to support Randy Villegas in Fresno, the Campbell's Farmers Market. Many of you have gotten out there and talked to potential voters as young as 6 months old. So phone makers, a lot of people getting out there, and of course the postcard and letter writers and everybody that helps at meetings. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for all your support.
Okay, next slide. So speaking about ground truth canvassing, we have one coming up this coming Saturday. So the QR code there works. So please, 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 if you haven't done a ground truth canvass before, we strongly encourage you, join us. Come down to Los Banos. It's going to be toasty. We're going to be in the 90 degrees, pushing 100, but we're going to be finished by 12:30 or so. And we all go out for tacos afterwards. Got some nice food. Please come on down just to give you a little bit of update as to what we're doing. So in Los Banos is in Congressional District 13. 13 is one of the swing districts that has been identified nationwide that Swing Left is working on. Adam Gray is the incumbent Democrat congressperson representing that district. So he just went through the primary, right? He finished in first place. As of 5 o'clock today, he has 42.2% of the vote. His closest rival is Republican Kevin Lincoln, who is the outgoing mayor of Stockton. He has 28% of the vote. There's another Democrat in the race. There's another Republican in the race. When you look at all the Democrats' votes put together versus all the Republican votes put together, the Democrat has 56.3%, Republicans 43.7%. That is a 13-point swing. Thank you, Prop 50. This was one of the districts that got redrawn in order to maximize the turnout. And look what has happened, just as designed. So Prop 50 works. South by Swing Left has also been focused on Congressional District 22, which is further south of the San Joaquin Valley. Right now, David Valadao, the Republican, is the incumbent congressperson there. What was that again?
Whoa.
That's right. Boo is right. He has, as of 5 o'clock today, 43.4% of the vote from the primary. His closest, number two is Randy Villegas, 30.4%. The next person is in third place, Jasmine Baines, another Democrat, with 26.2%. Villegas's lead has just been growing over the last week with every day that more and more votes get counted and added to the tally. So it's looking pretty clear that it's going to be Valadao versus Villegas. And again, if you add Baines and Villegas, all the Democratic votes together, 56.6% of the tally. Again, thank you, Prop 50. This was another district that was redrawn in order to maximize Democrat turnout. It's working. So please come and join us. Next slide. If you can't do it in person, you can do it by phone. So this is how phone banking works for Ground Truth as well. So the QR code there, and you can not only work on the campaigns that are going to be happening here in California. There are 4 swing districts in California, but there are going to be 42 other districts nationwide. The list is expanding. It started off at 19, then went to the 30s. Now we're in the mid-high 40s, a number of swing districts. And that's just because the Republican administration and the Trump administration has just been dragging down the party so far into the depths that all of a sudden it's looking better and better and better for Democrat prospects in Congress and flipping that thing come November. Next slide. If you are interested in doing either one of those things, we do ask that you do a canvasser training. You can every Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, running for an hour. There is a live online training, free. You can go ahead and use that QR code to sign up for it. If you don't have the time to do it live on Fridays at 1 p.m., the link that's over on the bottom right side, and you'll see it when you actually get the slides out, they go with live, is a half-hour pre-recorded version of the 1 hour live version of the training. So either way, just go ahead and get the training done so you can see exactly what Ground Truth is all about. Next slide. Our next meeting will happen 2 weeks from now on June 22nd, this room. And we are going to have Lizzie Abel, who we haven't seen here in about a year and a half, but she is the West Coast or Western States representative for all of Swing Left. And so she's going to be here to give us the latest update on the strategy and plan that Swing Left National just published. That's what it's called, The Big Swing. There's a live link in the slides that you'll get tomorrow. So you can look at it. It's like a 20-page document. You just go through and just kind of get a heads up as to what she's going to be talking about. But that's what's coming down the pike for the rest of this election cycle all the way through November. Next slide.
Okay. So for other actions and events you can take, please see the lovely QR code up there. It'll talk about, you can sign up for a newsletter, Ground Truth canvas training, phone banks, canvassing, postcards, bridge brigades, which is very fun, things going up for 17, Tesla takedowns, and support Minnesotans, and many more. So many, many things you can do over the summer and beyond. So thank you so much.
QR code right here too. Thanks, guys.
And by the way, our QR code, our link tree links to their link tree, and their link tree links to our link tree, and we have about, I'd say 70 to 80% shared membership with a very distinct focuses. So if you are sick of listening to me talk, but you like the activism, please do come back in 2 weeks. Even if you just joined OCI, we highly recommend, we used to do this every week. We highly recommend that you attend both meetings. You'll get something very different out of each. All right. Becky, Crystal, or Marianne, is someone in the room from our wonderful LGBTQIA? Give Marianne a very warm welcome as she makes her way to the front lines.
Good evening, my name is Marianne, my pronouns are she, her. I'm part of the LGBTQ plus IA committee, along with Crystal here in the back. Every month we come and do a little bit of education, a call to action, some things that we should be concerned about, and then try to leave on a positive note. It is Pride Month, yay! All right, so Crystal came up with a list of activities that you could do. They're mostly for the month of June. It's not an exhaustive list, but it is a list of activities and things that are happening in the Bay Area. We'll be handing them out at the end of the night. So if you want to take a look and see that anything Crystal's waving, they're like on a gold piece of paper. And if you see anything that you would find interesting, kind of the call to action that I have for you is to try to support the community and come out to an event, something that works with your schedule. There, like I said, there's lots of different things. How it works with the Pride Parade is San Francisco has the big one at the end of the month. So Silicon Valley doesn't like to compete with that, so they don't do their Pride to the end of August. So at the end of August, we will be talking about what Silicon Valley Pride is going to look like. So I will need all of your help and I will update you guys on what we're going to do for that. But that again does not take place till the end of August. So go ahead and take a look at this list. Like I said, it doesn't include everything. It's just like a snapshot of things that are happening. So I hope you guys can find something that you would enjoy.
It's also on the link tree. I went ahead and put it there. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Did anyone hear about this counter-terrorist document that Trump put out? I know it was like a couple of months ago now. The famous line is on his first page is the last line is, "We will find you and we will kill you," direct quote. And in this document, it's his counter-terrorist strategy. In the document, there is a section that talks about trans ideology. And it is in direct response to the killing of Charlie Kirk, who was not killed by a trans person, but somehow the administration is equating the two. So if you don't mind, I was just going to read this because it hits home when you hear it. In addition to cartels and Islamic terror groups, our national counterterrorist activities will also prioritize the rapid identification and neutralization of violent secular political groups whose ideology is anti-American, radically pro-transgender. What does that mean? And anarchist. We will use all the tools constitutionally available to us to map them at home, identify their membership, map their ties to international organizations like Antifa, and use law enforcement tools to cripple them operationally before they can maim or kill the innocent. It's pretty chilling. So that's out there, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to find lists, and they're and the thing too that I think is like, what does radically pro-transgender is it mean wearing a t-shirt? I don't know. So that is upsetting. Some good news was a few months ago I talked about the conversion therapy ban. So our country had a ban on conversion therapy, which is therapy to like change you from being gay or trans. They're going to convert you. So we had a ban. Our Supreme Court reversed the ban a few months ago, saying like, no, you cannot ban conversion therapy. And it started at the case in Colorado. But what Colorado did was the governor signed a bill that's going into effect July 1st. And they said, okay, well, if anyone is harmed by conversion therapy, they now have the right to sue the practitioners for any harm. No statute of limitations and unlimited civil liabilities. So very clever. We'll see where that goes, but it's a good win. It's a good win. Okay. And we'll have those handouts at the end. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Mary Ann. I'm going to interrupt myself for a second and let you know that if you want any food from the potluck, now is the time to do it. It's going to be consolidated soon. We ask you to take it home. We don't like to have our food go to waste. And if anyone is interested in washing silverware and or cups sometime in the next 2 weeks and bringing them back here at the South Bay Swing Left meeting, we're looking for someone to do that. Speaking of looking for someone, turns out I'm in charge of the elections subgroup, and I would love it if somebody wants to take the lead on that this year. In the meantime, I'm gonna provide you with some updates, and the wonderful John Kaminsky is gonna come up and tell you about communications for candidates. Give John a warm welcome.
Hello, I'm John Kaminsky. I do several things. One of them is I'm the Director of Communications for the Santa Clara County Democratic Party. I've been making a presentation several months running of communications for candidates. It will be on the third Thursday of the month in June, July, and August. The dates are up there. It's a presentation for beginners who've never run for office before, or have maybe run once and didn't do so good. It can also be for people who want to work on a campaign, or are just curious about what it takes to run for office. It's some very basic skills that you need in order to run for office and perhaps have some success. One of the most important ones is how to use a microphone correctly. I want to commend everyone this evening who's done it really well. Like I said, it's the third Thursday of the month. And the QR code and the link are up there. You can sign up, or if you know somebody that's thinking of running for something, or should be thinking of running for something, you can encourage them to sign up. There's no commitment to run, just come and find out what it might take. Thank you very much for hearing that. I do want to add one thing on a personal note. After 22 years of progressive activism, the Dean Democratic Club of Silicon Valley will be discontinuing its operations. I've been the co-chair for about 8 years now. It's sad to see the Dean Club go, but we've done a lot of really good things in our 22 years. We'll be having a picnic on the 20th of this month at Ponderosa Park in Sunnyvale. Anyone who might like to come is certainly welcome. It's a potluck to just say goodbye to the Dean Club and commend the people that have been part of it for the work that they've done over the many years. So thanks very much.
Thank you, John. All right. That's a good reminder too, because John was telling me that part of the reason the Dean Club is closing up shop is because they're aging out. That's a good reminder. I am usually one of the youngest people in this room, and I have a 25-year-old. It happens tonight that one of my kids is here, but if you have young people in your life that want to get involved in some way, we need young people to be out registering other people to vote, talking to people about the real things that are coming their way. We don't make some big changes, but if this isn't the right setting for them, we have a wonderful young Dems movement in the Bay Area that I am happy to connect people to, but it would be great to see some young folks in the room too, because we're not going to be able to do this forever. Okay. I'm so glad the primary is over, but oh my God. Okay, but it's not over yet. I'm not going to talk about all the state races. I'm going to talk about just a couple of them tonight. It's going to be just a little recap before we have about 15 minutes before we're joined by SIREN. The Facebook page, you guys, I'm so sick of moderating it 10 years later. I want to remind everybody, regardless of who you voted for, we are going to all be in this together in November and after November. So please have your opinions. Let's have robust debate. But let's remember that we're going to want to work together and coalesce behind good Democrats come November. To that end, I know that a lot of folks are hoping that we don't have to hear the noise of a Becerra-Steyer runoff in November. That said, that's actually the best thing for down ballot Democrats. Because when people are excited about the candidate they're voting for, they vote. If they're not excited about what's going on at the top of the ballot, they're less likely to vote for down ballot things, so. As of, I think I did these screenshots at like 4:45 this afternoon, so I'm sure they've been updated. Tom Steyer is closing in on Steve Hilton. This still has a while to go. There's not gonna be an announcement until every vote is counted. I'm sure which is democracy, right? I'm sure you're hearing what the Republicans are saying, that this means that somehow it's rigged. But this one is truly still in play, so we just don't know. God, I hope by the next time we meet, we know who's gonna move on. And I hope that if it's only one Democrat, that we can agree that we will support that Democrat and get them into the governor's mansion come November. Okay? That's all I'll say about that. We just don't know yet. There's some big congressional stuff that happened. I'm just highlighting a couple of them. Nancy Pelosi is retiring. State Senator Scott Wiener is currently the front runner again as of 5:30 tonight. And it looks like it's going to be a Dem on Dem election going into November with Connie Chan as his opponent. So again, this is going to make great conversations, great debates. This is an interesting one. So this is the seat that Aisha Wahab, who is currently in the California State Senate, this is one of those new districts. So again, she's polling way ahead. This was looking like it was going to be a real uphill battle. She's got currently 38.5%. And it looks like, again, it's going to be another Democrat facing off with her in November. California's 6th congressional. This is one of the newly redrawn districts. This is in Sacramento, so this is one that ideally should be an easy Democratic seat, but this is kind of crazy. Kevin Kiley, who is an independent, is currently polling at 25%, followed by Democrat Richard Pan. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch too. We heard a little bit from Swing Left. Yeah, John. Yeah. John just said Kevin Kiley was a Republican 6 months ago. Okay. There is some talk about legislating folks' ability to change their political party once they've already been elected. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, this is one that was redrawn in our favor. So we really should be winning these seats. 2nd congressional district, Randy Villegas, who is not only a swing left, but also an indivisible candidate this year, he's doing very well. He's well ahead of Jasmeet Bains, so that's really exciting. That seat can absolutely be won by us. Okay. Looking at the local races, I know that's hard to see. I did not bother sharing the local races where they were uncontested. You can assume that if they were uncontested, or if it's your state senator or your state assembly member or your House representative, the person that you think won. Okay, so Ro Khanna, Zoe Lofgren, Sam Liccardo, all those folks, they're moving on. They are very far ahead. Those are not going to be big fights. Same thing happened in the assembly. I'm very pleased. It looks like my boss has over 70% for his last term in the state legislature. Same, Patrick Aarons is way out in front. Mark Berman, all those seats that didn't seem like they'd be real trouble to win, which is great because we can focus on other seats. Some things happening in San Jose. City Council District 5. So this is the seat that Peter Ortiz currently has. He's polling right now, again, as of about 4:30, 45%, followed by Nora Campos. Who remembers Nora Campos? She was in the assembly for a while, not very long. She's run for everything. I think she's run for like 5 or 6 things and lost since then, but she's like a bad penny. So that is not going to be decided. That's going to go to November, which is unfortunate because if he had gotten over 50%, he would be done campaigning. A similar thing is going on in District 7, Bien Don. And the incumbent has 47.8%. And right now it's looking like Van Lay is going to be his opponent, although again, I don't know if you can see this, these votes are all within a couple hundred. Okay, these are districts where there's under 15,000 people that voted. So these are very, very close and have been changing. This one I think will be particularly interesting. Oh, and there he is right now, Gordon. Gordon, what wonderful timing. I did not plan it this way. San Jose, District 9, perhaps, you're welcome to come on up, I know, for a member announcement. Jenny Altwer is at 30, almost 35%, and OCI's own Gordon Chester is currently in second with 22%. So I don't know if there's been an update, but I'm gonna give you your 2 minutes right now since you're here.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Gordon Chester, and I owe a lot of thanks to everybody in this room because this was really the first place I got to practice public speaking at a large level. It means a lot to me. I came just tonight just to say thank you for that. So please give yourselves a round of applause for being such an inviting and amazing group of people. I just really want to come say thank you. I will be back, of course, to fill everybody in when we relaunch the campaign. We're getting that planning started right now, and I'm really excited. So thank you all so much.
All right. And then last, I have this district attorney one. So Jeff Rosen is currently has a commanding lead at almost 60% compared to Daniel Chung's 40%. So good news on the measures, they all did very well. So was it measure D? The environmental one is moving forward. So that's fantastic news. There were a couple other ones. So what else am I forgetting in Santa Clara County? I think those are the highlights. Any questions about any of the things that happened or where we're going from here in November specifically related to elections? Oh, the measure of hotel tax, yes. What, do you remember what letter that was? Measure A. So that one's also doing very well. And I don't even get to vote in this county. I actually live in Santa Cruz County and I know more about what's going on over here, but I missed that one. So thank you. Okay. I have a few minutes to catch you up. I'm very excited to say that two of the wonderful members of my team at Osh Kalra's office have been working very, very hard on immigrant protections from a legislative and community lens, and they have both, under no duress from me, I promise, agreed to become the new leads of the immigrant protections subgroup here at OCI. So Tuan is here tonight. I want to give him a warm welcome. Juan is the young man who has the adorable curly-haired 2-year-old that sometimes comes and screams at the meeting. So he will be joining us, but they're going to be taking over the immigrant protections. This is an action group that really is going to need us all. I'm going to really hammer that home tonight. So this is a great way to get involved. They'll be updating and providing actions and helping me make sure that there's things on the link tree that you can do. But if you think you might want to support their efforts, I would be thrilled if you introduce yourselves. Okay, so I'm going to give you a brief recap of what's going on in Gilroy about what we know so far and how we can respond. And then we're going to have a presentation from Hui up at SIREN. And like I said, he said they were just involved in the an action up in Dublin, so be kind. He said he's a little disheveled. I don't think that's the case, but he will be presenting from the road. So, okay, here's what we know so far. We know that there's about 20 acres that were purchased in unincorporated Gilroy by a privately owned corporation that I think is located in like Beverly Hills or something. And they awarded a federal contract in going back all the way to January of 2025. They are currently in a 20-year lease valued at approximately $26 million. And construction activity has been observed on site already. This location currently has no infrastructure, which is good news because that means that permits need to be pulled in order to get water and power onto this site. But there's things like buildings and fences and softer infrastructure going in right now. San Jose Spotlight was able to confirm last Friday through blueprints that this is definitely an ICE facility. There was some question about it because the company that purchased the actual land is not the federal government. It's a company that buys up land like this and then leases it to the federal government. So it took a while for folks to catch on that this is what was happening. So the new blueprints, originally it was thought that this facility was only going to be about 4,000 square feet. The new blueprints that San Jose Spotlight found show detention and processing areas, holding and interview rooms, visitation rooms, and there was something specifically about where mothers with, children of breastfeeding age could be kept. Weapons and tactical equipment storage. And it's not 4,000 square feet, it's actually 20,000 square feet. So this is a massive facility, and is unfortunately worse than it seemed like it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago when this news broke. Why does Dublin matter? We're going to be talking about these two things kind of together. So there's the Gilroy facility that's proposed. This is going to be an ICE, or they're trying to make an ICE processing and detention facility that will expand the ICE infrastructure into the South County. And of course, this is right in the middle of agricultural work. Yeah, the most vulnerable people is going right up in this area. So originally, this was just thought to be a processing center, and now it looks like they're going to be able to detain folks for longer periods of time. The processing centers that we were talking about a few weeks ago, this was like moving people through on the way to other places. But that's changing. This is all in flux still. In Dublin, there is already an existing large-scale building, and this has always been intended to be a detention center that can hold about 1,000 detainees. So advocates are connecting the two because it would dramatically increase the ICE capacity in Northern California, and they represent a significant expansion of the infrastructure here in Northern California that we currently don't have. There's some processing facilities where people are transported out of our area, but this significantly ramps things up. Communities are concerned because the infrastructure is taking hold, the increased detention and deportation capacity, the immigrant, even folks who aren't being swept up in this, the emotional and psychological impact on immigrant and mixed status families, people who won't seek help necessarily anymore because they're afraid to try and get help with food or medical assistance, housing. We noticed even last year, my office participates in National Night Out. These are events put on in August, the first Tuesday in August, where community organizations and neighborhood groups come together and kids come out and there's barbecues in the streets with the fire department. The attendance even at that was significantly decreased from the years prior because people are afraid to be out even in their own communities. So what's being done? I can tell you that things are happening at the city levels. Oh, here's Hui now. I'm gonna let Hui enter the room, and I've just got a couple more slides before I turn it over to him. There's response already happening at the city, county, and state level. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but looking at the zoning and permitting where things can be stopped or slowed down by saying, hey, This bumps up against some water that belongs to Valley Water, and Valley Water doesn't work with ice. There's things like that, mechanisms that are gonna allow things to be slowed down. They're looking into other legal ways to do so. Gilroy just passed unanimously last week an ordinance opposing this facility, and they're looking for other cities. San Jose has a strong one, Santa Clara County has one. Campbell has one that specifically says ICE cannot stage at VTA stations or on government properties. They're looking to strengthen these in all of the cities in the South Bay and beyond. So they're looking for folks. If you live in Los Gatos, I don't think there's one in Los Gatos yet. For example, looking for folks to help lead these charges. So there are very clear policies within each city about who will cooperate and who won't cooperate. There's been a ton of incredible organizing and coalition building. They're doing a really wonderful job of keeping the community aware of what's going on, and asking folks to advocate in certain ways. Local governments, like I said, limiting the use of public property. San Jose has no staging zones where they can't come with trucks to a city parking lot and get ready to do raids on buildings, things like that. Gilroy passed this, like I said, no staging policy last week. They're training staff on response protocols and looking for more resolutions opposing the detention expansion are in the works. Yeah. I'm gonna repeat it, don't worry. That's fine.
The data centers and the ICE facilities has something in common, and that's that the way these facilities are being put together, there's a lot of NDAs in place. They're going to local people and putting them under NDA. And it really seems to me that it violates the Brown Act, which is transparency in government. But if it's not clear that it does that, we should strip the NDAs from these two federal agencies. Just like they stripped NDAs from people who are trying to cover up sexual assault. Non-disclosure. And they're putting local people and local and county people under NDAs. And then by the time we find out about it, they're scraping the land, or they've already bought the land. It's really far down the line, and the AI data centers are the same way, and we're kept in the dark. And it's our water that they're tapping. It's right. Our electricity. Our rates are going to go up. It's on the data centers. It's our farmland that they're covering. It's going to impact our ability to get fresh produce in the area. We're already going to be at a deficit because of the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is closed. I didn't hear a lot about that, but basically, most farmers have not been able to afford or buy fertilizer, and so our food prices are going to continue to go up. And if we don't have shortages, probably will.
Yeah, you bring up a good point that all of these issues are intersectional. They kind of can't even be teased apart. And we will be talking about data centers in an upcoming meeting too, because I think you're right, you're connected. I will say that even Zoe Lofgren's office has not been able to get, in talking about this, they have not been able to get the federal government to respond and tell them what's happening in Gilroy. So they're just simply not cooperating even with other level, the same level of government. Okay, very quickly, and I'm gonna hand it over to you in just a second. What can you do if you have not yet been trained by the Rapid Response Network as a rapid responder? Great news, there's a training coming up. I have it linked on the link tree. I think it's next Monday. There will be calls to action to attend and comment at public meetings. Some of you I know were able to do the public comments. You don't have to live in the city to make public comments in a lot of these. A lot of folks, I think, attended the Dublin one and virtually or sent in a letter of comment. Share accurate information, not information that you're hearing might be true, but it scares communities most at risk. And it doesn't help to pass along disinformation. Support immigrant serving organizations. We are taking the lead of the Rapid Response Network and all of the wonderful organizations that are living this right now, okay? We're taking our cues from them about what we can do. This is not a done deal. This can be held off. I want to let you know, I have linked, like I said, in the new portion of our link tree, all of these things. Indivisible has a great primer that leads to a lot of the same resources that's on there. The Rapid Response Network website is on there. The Communities Not Cages has come up with a wonderful infrastructure and toolkit to help resist these things. And with that, Kui, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to stop my share here for a second. And here's, everyone give Kui a warm welcome. You don't look like you've been out doing anything. Where have you been?
Well, I appreciate that very much, you all. I actually kind of confessed to Celeste that I'm going to be looking a little bit like a mess here. We just wrapped up the Caminata. That is a 50-mile march organized by a lot of immigrant rights organizations kind of across the Bay Area. And they marched from Napa all the way to Dublin, not just to protest, converting FCI into a detention center, but also to show solidarity and protest the expansion of ICE facilities in Gilroy as well. In fact, my co-presenters tonight are Tatiana Villaseñor with Caras, who is also online, and Kim Wu, who's also one of our organizers. I got the chance to hear a little bit about the presentation before, so I appreciate all the information that you're already sharing out, Celeste, here to OCI members. I'm actually subbing in tonight for Mariana Haro, who is the Rapid Response Manager. But we can go through and share the information as we're all kind of working together on this, okay? So, just want to make sure, Tatiana, you're there, right? You can just give me like a wave or come off mute really quickly.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Tati. Okay. All right. So, really quickly, are you sharing, Celeste, or am I sharing?
If you can share, that would be great.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Let me get that going.
And
Okay.
if you can't share for some reason, you let me know.
It says sharing is not turned on.
Okay, then did you send it to my email?
I did to the Orchard City Indivisible one.
Okay, so we're gonna do this
Okay.
a little bit janky, but we're gonna work it out. Let me get to
Okay.
my Gmail and open it up. You're welcome to keep talking while I open this, but we're gonna put the slides on. I'm gonna make sure these slides are in the slide deck for tonight also.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and if y'all noticing my nose is a little red, let me just say I tried reapplying sunscreen like 3 times and I still got sunburned.
How much of the walk did you participate in?
I couldn't join in the first day where they went from Napa to Vallejo, but I participated yesterday and today. So it went from Vallejo to El Cerrito, and then from El Cerrito to Dublin. We walked a lot.
Awesome.
We walked a lot, but there were definitely moments where I think we kind of had to switch over to like a car caravanning just to make sure that we're making time and not like walking in the dark. But it's a good
Okay,
amount of time.
I
For
have
sure.
your slides up. You're just gonna have to tell me when you want me to advance to the next one.
That'll work. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciate that, Celeste. Yeah. So, yeah, the objective for tonight's presentation, you all, is for us to present the landscape. So we want, folks to get a better sense of what it means or what that flow from a moment a person is detained to when they get put into a detention center and what that looks like. This is a truncated version of our presentation. We did this first kind of like a responders only one, but we're, OCI, we recognize as mostly responders, a lot of folks who went through the trainings here. So we wanted to make sure that we updated you all on this one too, okay? And I want to recognize here that on the call with me is Tatiana, who is out of Caras. They are rooted in Gilroy and have been taking on a shoulder, like a lion's share of all of the efforts here because it's happening in their backyard. And then Kim is with SIREN. She's on the steering committee for the ICE Out of Dublin committee, the coalition, and has been working when we've been involved in the fight against the FCI for over a year now. So let's go to the next slide. All right. So first off, we want you to kind of to get a sense here of how our rapid response monitors these situations as they come up. The information that was dropped by Spotlight, seemingly maybe caught a bunch of folks by surprise. Well, to be frank with y'all, when it came out, for us, it wasn't necessarily a surprise. For us, the issue was just more like, they kind of jumped the gun a little bit because we were still trying to make sure that we were just verifying certain information. We were trying to make sure that we were, trying to be as clear about what was happening as possible before we just started releasing the information, right? And of course, everyone got rightfully activated because it's a scary thing, right? And that's part of the reason why we also want to make sure that we were very careful with the information that rapid response releases. So you can go to the next slide, please. So rapid response in Santa Clara County gets a lot of information just through the work itself. Right. So you'll see here that we get a lot of feedback from responders. Oh,
I'm going back. Sorry about that. It will not let me share full screen for some reason.
oh, interesting. Okay.
But you can keep talking. I will resume. Here we go.
Okay. All right. So a lot of the work that you see, like rapid response gives a lot of information just from responders themselves. What we want responders and folks who are trained in response and who have gone out on calls to understand is when somebody calls something in, when you report something in, that gets documented. We track it, right? It helps us because we build up a pattern and we build up information over time. And it's something that helps us get a really good sense of what local movements look like, local movements by ICE agents looks like, because it allows us to, we kind of see it happening over time, right? We also learn a lot through our legal observers. These are, the volunteers, and this is not just in Santa Clara County, but folks who actually show up to immigration court and they track what's happening at the field office activity. These things that get reported as well allow us to continue to build a database of just good information. It helps us better understand what movements of these agents look like. We also get information through our accompaniment, right? When our volunteers go with families or go with the people who are going to their check-ins, right? We get to see a little bit too of what that part of the operation looks like. We do some more research from time to time. In fact, what we did before with Gilroy was we just simply looked up public records. And we were able to, secure some information to confirm, what is now known about that there. But there's also coalition intel, right? We work with partners with folks across the Bay Area. Rapid Response Network is part of statewide and national networks that also share intel. And then, of course, the Rapid Response member organizations also share a ton of information with each other. All of this comes together to give us information in advance. And what we try to do is make sure that we act responsibly with it. We also want to make sure, though, that we're empowering people as best as we can so that people can make informed decisions. Right. And so one goes to the next slide. So in terms of what is currently on the radar, right, we've learned a lot about Gilroy. We've heard a lot about Dublin. These are the new facilities that we are tracking and that we've been trying to stay on top of. But we also just to make sure that folks know there are current existing ICE facilities here in the Bay Area. There are no detention centers, but there are field offices. There is also Stockton, which is the other main processing center that exists here in the Bay Area. So, working with other rapid response networks, we get an opportunity to see what's happening in these various locations and get a sense of how things move. Right. Basically, if a person gets detained, whether in homes, whether in our county, whether at the courthouse, we start getting a sense of how people are transported, where they are held, where they're processed before they make their way on to the next and last step. One thing, I mentioned before already, right? In Dublin, that's the the detention center there is being proposed. You'll see in the Bay Area, there are no other detention centers, right? These processing facilities, these field offices, they're still not good. We want to be very clear, right? These are very, very like, these places are where people train. They do hold people for short term, right? But we can get more into the detention centers as well to explain here, like what the lack of what these minima, like the not the, excuse me, the non-presence of some certain facilities here can impact what enforcement looks like. Next slide, please. There we go. All right. Let's go one more. All right. So this is how things currently work. So first off, let's explain the difference between what a processing center is and what a detention center is. All right. A processing center is intended for short-term holds. People who get detained and brought to a processing center, then intake is done, paperwork is done, they get fingerprints, their records are documented, their decisions made around custody. People are held just a few hours to a few days. Now, there's an asterisk there because that amount of time is actually pretty fluid. It's not limited. It's not like a rule is that set in stone where people can only be held, for example, for like 12 hours. It's actually kind of fluctuated a lot and they kind of do whatever they feel like. A processing center is usually also combined with a field office that has cells for short-term holding, right? Field office means they can also do administrative side things. From a processing center, people are then transferred to a long-term facility. That's a detention center. Where people can be held in detention center for a long time. In here in detention centers, that's where people wait before they get a hearing or if they're ultimately removed. The stays in detention centers can stretch weeks, months, and even years. And these detention centers are run by ICE, but there's also private equity firms or private companies that manage these facilities. The two biggest ones are Geo and Core Civic. And these are the names we hear most often anytime we're talking about detention centers, kind of like anywhere across the country. When you look at where our residents are getting processed, right? They're getting detained outside of the San Francisco field office. They were getting detained at the courthouse and then just moved to the field office. They then get moved, or they get moved over to the Stockton field office, and then from there, they get moved down to one of the detention centers in the Central Valley. This is, again, long-term detention. The ones that are most common for Santa Clara County residents are Mesa Verde, Golden State Annex, Central Valley Annex, California City. All of these are owned and managed by the Geo Group. Next slide, please. All right, so like as I mentioned, right, there's a little asterisk in terms of how long people can spend in a in a processing facility, right? The ICE has its own policy that actually says people should only be held there for 12 hours. It's not a statute, it's not a regulation, it's not something passed by Congress. It's literally just ICE's own rule. And so, under normal conditions, a person should not be at a processing facility for more than 12 hours. However, last year, there was a waiver issued in June of 2025, and that waived the 12-hour limit nationwide. Now people can be held for up to 72 hours unless there was exceptional circumstances. In practice, though, the 72 hours isn't even followed. People are held in short-term processing centers for days and sometimes over a week. There's really no outside oversight of this, or there's not enough, and we're going to need to make sure that we're doing a lot more of that as well. So there isn't an actual limit. Again, the limits aren't it's not a statute, it's not a regulation, it's just internal rules. And so the only actual check on how long a person can be held in a short-term processing facility is due process. That means that when the opportunity arises, we actually have to find folks willing to litigate over whether or not a person's constitutional rights were being violated for staying inside a processing facility for too long. We are looking at some possibilities of being able to bring back the 12-hour limit, but it has to kind of go through, it has to kind of go through Congress. And the reality of that is that it's probably not likely to happen at the moment, but it is something that's in the works. Next slide, please. Now, detention centers are getting expanded across the nation, right? We're seeing a ton of growth in just detention centers in like all in a lot of different states. So far, the federal budget has expanded the budget for ICE to create detention capacity, or sorry, to expand detention capacity by over $38 billion. What has that resulted in? For more than 40 people have died in ICE custody across the country. And 17 of that was just in this year alone. In California, 6 detainees have died from September 2025 to March 2026, and the most recent, and that's the most we've seen in California. One thing we want to point out about detention centers, and one of the reasons why, we've been personally, SIREN has been involved in the Dublin fight along with many other partners and agencies here. There are 8 detention centers in the state of California. All of them are in the lower third of the state. That means there's no detention center anywhere north of McFarland, anywhere north of Kern County. We do believe that that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen the mass raids, the ones that you see on TV from like LA, Chicago, DC, Minneapolis. We haven't seen that because there's not enough places for ICE to put people if they were to start just going out there doing random checks, detaining people from the streets, right? I mean, even when they started ramping up courthouse detentions, they ran out of space so quickly that they just filled up the ICE office in San Francisco and held people there for upwards of a week with no basic amenities. It took a court order for ICE to actually start providing simple things like toothbrushes and toothpaste to the people who were being detained and held at the ICE office rather than like processing center or a detention center. If a detention center opens up in the Bay Area, we are talking about a person who can be transported to a detention center, not in 4.5 hours, right? It takes about 4.5 hours to get to McFarland. If we're talking about putting massive amounts of people just a 30-minute drive away. And so a detention center has the potential to greatly increase the risk of mass raids and mass deportations in the Bay Area. And it opens up all of Northern California to the same risk. Next slide, please. So with this, we want to now get into more of the specifics of Gilroy and Dublin. And for that, we're going to go into Gilroy first. Tati, whenever you're ready, I'm going to hand it over to you, okay?
Thank you, Hui. Hi, everyone. My name is Tatiana Villaseñor. I'm the Immigration Advocacy Manager at CARAS. CARAS stands for Community Agency for Resources, Advocacy, and Services. We are based in Gilroy, and we're monitoring the situation very closely. So information I can share, and that has already been published through Spotlight, is that the proposed facility in Gilroy, the processing center, is outside of city boundaries. You could see it right here. It's 72040 Holsclaw Road. Thank you. And it is, unfortunately, like I said, it's in unincorporated Gilroy, meaning that the city council has limited power as to what they could do for oversight. But as Celeste mentioned, there are so many government agencies, and we're so grateful for the amount of support that's being poured into trying to hold this facility. But the largest community concerned right now is, again, the misinformation, as we mentioned. There are a lot of rumors that are going around. A lot of people, including Spotlight, called this a detention center. And again, that is incorrect. As we already went over, a processing center does function differently from a detention center. But what we're really trying to stay rooted in our fight is that Dublin and Gilroy go hand in hand, and one facility without the other, we want to see the impact where we're no longer seeing people getting detained in mass numbers. So as CARAS, we are committed to continuing our community outreach, our community organizing. We're ongoingly preparing, and we're trying to not only educate our internal community, because I'm not sure if any of you know, but Gilroy is actually 60% Latino. So there is a large Latino community that will be affected directly and indirectly by the opening of these types of facilities. But we're also trying to bring the message out to folks like all of you, folks who are committed to social justice, who understand that there is a right and there is a wrong. And again, trying to persuade you all to join our movement. Next slide, please. So what we're hearing in South County, there is a lot of need for clarity. Right now, there is a lack of connection and support. And so really what we're trying to build out are infrastructures where the community is ongoingly feeling supported. A lot of the lack of support comes from, unfortunately, Gilroy, Morgan Hill, and San Martin are some of the lowest funded areas of our county. And the reality is that when it comes to all issues that directly impact East San Jose, Gilroy has rivaling numbers. They usually go neck and neck when it comes to inequities that are happening in our communities. So what we are doing right now is not only educating our community, but we're also trying to understand what is it the direct needs that they are needing. Again, there's a lot of fear and frustration in terms of lack of clarity. And we are ongoingly talking to media, talking to neighbors, going door to door to try and address these concerns. Through our community organizing efforts, we are currently putting communities into pods. We call them autodefensa, self-defense pods. And what we're trying to do is create ecosystems where people are able to get accurate information. A lot of rapid response information goes out through social media, and the reality is that not all of our communities use social media to that degree. So we're trying to make it easier for folks to be able to access accurate and verified information. So that's one of our ways. And I encourage all of you to start to connect with your community members. In the event that these facilities do open, as we saw in Minneapolis, this not only directly impacts the Latino community, but it impacts all communities. And one way in which we can begin to prepare is by talking to our neighbors and trying to form connections with each other. Next slide, please. So through our organizing efforts, what we're trying to do, as I'm mentioning again to all of you, is we're in the process of launching our larger project, which is our Autodefensa project, again, self-defense. It incorporates pods, community canvassing, ensuring that people have access to trainings. We're also working with our youth very closely, activating them. Gilroy Unified School District has been very uncooperative with Rapid Response Network, with CARAS, to try and pass along this type of information to their families. So we're really trying to push and empower our youth to take lead in these charges and to begin to organize and learn these leadership development schools that are crucial not just for this fight, but as we continue our fight against this administration. Next slide, please. So ways in which you can get involved. Again, there is a priority with seeking out volunteers through the Rapid Response Network. So if you're not a part of that response, if you're not a responder, I'm sorry, please join us. I'm also a responder. I'm also a dispatcher. And this is really important work that's happening to ensure that we are no longer seeing community members being kidnapped off the street. We're also looking for folks to stay activated. And once you're a responder, there is an ask that we begin to aid in monitoring these facilities. I have participated in my role as CARAS, monitoring the growth of the facility, and there is ongoing construction that's happening on the site. And again, there is little to no oversight as to what's happening because we are dealing with the federal government. A lot of our strategies are going around the actual terrain that they purchased or that they're leasing, I'm sorry, and looking and trying to take pictures of what they're doing. We are seeing that they are demolishing some of the greenhouses and a little bit of the infrastructure there, but they are also leaving stuff in place. They are upgrading the main office. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but the land that they purchased was previously a bioseed company. And a lot of this information you're able to find on the Spotlight articles. So if you haven't already read those, please read those and stay up to date. I will just say again, the only correction that as CARAS and as a community that we're actively making is that they're labeling it as a detention center when it is actually a processing center. So we are also looking for ongoing support. So if you're interested in connecting with CARAS, my information is down below. There's CARAS's main office number and then also my email if you're interested in getting involved in our movement. Thank you. Oh, and I apologize. My last request. I also wanted to invite all of you to our No Kings rally. Garas is participating and we are hosting this iteration of the Gilroy No Kings rally. We are looking for support. We will begin at the data center, and I thank you all for bringing that topic up to light. Because again, our movements are intersectional, so we will be meeting near the data center and we will be walking over to the Holsclaw site. In Gilroy, it is commonly known as Snake Road. So if you are from Gilroy or happen to be from South County, that is the colloquial term for the Holsclaw Road.
Thank you. All right. Just a bit more here.
Yes. For that, y'all, we're gonna hand it over to Kim to provide more information about what's happening at Dublin.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim. I use the she/her pronouns. I'm a community organizer with SIREN. No worries if not, but if it's possible to move the spotlight from Hui and you can put it on me, it's okay if not, but I was just checking. So, I'm Kim again. So basically I want to talk about FCI Dublin. So FCI Dublin is a formal federal prison located 20 miles southeast of Oakland in Dublin. So yes, it actually is in the Bay Area. It's right at the end of Bart's Blue Line. It is located on a former federal military base, which was then converted to a federal prison in 1974. And for most of the time, it was operated as a women's facility. To be clear, it is already built with the capacity to hold over 1,000 people. Now, trigger warning for the next part. Over multiple years, many of those incarcerated began speaking out against rampant, systemic sexual and physical abuse by the prison staff. This abuse often targeted non-citizens, threatening them with deportation. In addition, the facility is unsafe and uninhabitable with serious infrastructural deficits that would cost tens of millions of our taxpayer dollars to repair. The environmental assessment on the facility, which I'll explain more later, notes serious environmental hazards, including asbestos, lead paint, black mold, cracked sewage pipes, potential contamination from use as a military base, the possibility of radiation from military experiments, and even the possibility of unexploded munitions on this land. This is all these environmental hazards are all within a mile of multiple schools and parks and just 1,000 feet from a housing development. Now, FCI Dublin was closed in 2024 due to the powerful organizing and litigation by survivors. The closure of FCI Dublin was a great victory, but then flash forward to a few months after, in early 2025, the Bureau of Prisons, or BOP, staff reported to the press that ICE was eyeing the facility for use. Next slide, please. Now, in December 2025, the BOP announced its intention to dispose of FCI Dublin by transferring it to the General Services Administration, or GSA, which is the agency that manages federal property. The GSA, which has been tasked to secure more property for ICE, could then transfer the property to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, or the Department of Defense. In other words, it goes BOP, GSA, DHS, or ICE. Now, here's what we know. One, ICE is specifically eyeing Northern California, ramping up its efforts to increase detention. In fact, ICE and private prison contractors actually told FCI Dublin. Two, GSA has an ICE surge team whose main responsibility is to secure more property for ICE. And three, HR 1, the big bad bill, which we mentioned earlier, was passed last year that gave DHS $45 billion to detain as many immigrants as possible. And this year's reconciliation bill now wants to give more billions to this whole mass deportation machine. Now, thanks to community organizing to end ICE contracts in the region, there are currently no immigration detention centers north of McFarland in California, as we mentioned. And I just want to be very clear, more detention space in the Bay Area, whether it be in Gilroy or in Dublin, will mean more ICE enforcement in our communities. The Bay Area has not seen the same kind of mass ICE arrests facing our neighbors in the Central Valley or in Southern California, in part because ICE does not have the beds to hold people close by. Therefore, the threat of Dublin is deeply, deeply connected to the threat of Gilroy, as both may feed into each other, with Gilroy detaining people for processing just to transfer them to the longer-term detention center in Dublin. So if you're going to fight in Gilroy, you got to fight in Dublin too, and vice versa. Next slide, please. Now, about the environmental assessment. For BOP to dispose of FCI Dublin, they must transfer the property to GSA by definition. Now, in this transfer process, federal law requires BOP to conduct and publish an environmental assessment in this process. And that's what they did. BOP published a 2,700-page environmental assessment on Friday, May 1st. This assessment considers or truly only considers BOP's proposed action, which is to permanently deactivate and close FCI Dublin as a federal prison, which by definition means transferring it as is to the GSA, and concludes that the proposed action will have no significant adverse impacts. Unfortunately, the EA fails to analyze what happens next. After BOP disposes of the property as is, another federal agency like DHS, like ICE, will likely take over the dangerous facility. So what are our demands? First, the ICE Out of Dublin Coalition demands that the BOP must analyze what will happen after closure, including FCI Dublin's possible transfer for reuse. Second, the BOP must consider the impacts of facility reopening, including for ICE detention. And third, the BOP must evaluate demolition of the facility, not just closure. I want to be very clear. This environmental assessment is a really dangerous juncture because it brings all of us one step closer to an ICE detention center. BOP wants to wash their hands of this vacant, crumbling building and transfer it to GSA, who can sell it to ICE and DHS. Now, we recognize that ICE has said that they do not plan to use FCA Dublin. But in all honesty, we cannot trust that lie for all the reasons we've mentioned about ICE's escalatory tactics, and because BOP's transfer to GSA can mark the beginning of DHS reopening FCA Dublin as an immigration detention center in our own Bay Area backyard. In fact, this actually happened in another part of the country, in Moshannon Valley Correctional Center in Pennsylvania, which was a federal prison contracted with BOP from 2006 until March 2021. After former President Biden prohibited the renewal of contracts with private prisons, Moshannon was actually shut down by BOP, which mirrors BOP's closure to FCI Dublin in this instance. Then, in Pennsylvania, the private for-profit company Geo Group took advantage of BOP's closure to then contract with Clearfield County and ICE to reopen Moshannon as an ICE detention facility. Now, Moshannon stands as the largest immigration detention center in the Northeast. So please, please, please do not interpret BOP's letter of closure or ICE's purported absence as a sign to be complacent or believe that there will be no detention center. Instead, the environmental assessment gives us even more urgency because of the potentially imminent transfer from BOP to GSA to another agency, likely DHS, that can convert this closure into a reopening of detention facility. And that's why the ICE out of Dublin is demanding for demolition. To be frank, there's only one way that FCI Dublin, as it currently stands, can be used, which is for incarceration. Demolition is the only way to avoid the environmental dangers for the broader community and ensure that the unsafe facility will never again be used to incarcerate our loved ones. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. It should have updated without the rally because that actually happened today and we just came back from it, but that's okay. So for reference, the ICE out of Dublin needs your help. So I'm Kim, I'm from SIREN, and I actually sit as part of the steering committee for the ICE out of Dublin. And while the public comment period for the environmental assessment passed last week on Monday, June 1st, we're now preparing for environmental litigation if BOP finds no significant environmental impact. Now, we don't know of the exact timeline if BOP decides to transfer to FCI Dublin to GSA, who can sell it to DHS and ICE. But what we do know is that other federal agencies get first dibs to federal property. And remember, FCI Dublin is on federal land. This is very, very, very urgent. As I mentioned before, FCI Dublin is currently built. It has the capacity to hold 1,000 beds, would most likely be a detention center to incarcerate loved ones for longer than the proposed processing center in Gilroy, which, again, they can feed into each other. And it has the potential to open in a very short amount of time. It's 1.5 hours away from Gilroy and could be the first immigration detention center in the Bay Area that we've seen in a while, opening the door for mass immigration raids that we haven't yet experienced. I also want to focus on, because FCI Dublin's on federal land, we need to use federal laws like National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, to stop FCI Dublin from reopening as an immigration detention center. So please, if you have any connections with a NEPA law firm or attorney, any support, whether it be short-term like a consultation or long-term, ideally like representation, any support is helpful. Please reach out. My email is included on the screen about how you can let me know if you have any contacts. And now the next part of the coalition is focused on emergency planning. We've identified our day one as FCI Dublin's transfer to DHS. And again, we need your help to monitor the site to see if there's any developments. That help can look like canvassing our neighborhoods, prepare communities in the emergency of federal invasion. We're doing know your rights trainings, door knocking, flyering, anything to inform our communities, especially our Dublin residents, on what's happening in their backyard. From labor to potential zoning laws, we're trying everything and exploring creative ways to generate pressure. That also looks like training our communities on non-cooperation so that we all refuse to work on an ICE detention center. So I'm also going to put some more information in the chat. To stay updated and get involved, please sign up at this ICE Out of Dublin Coalition forum. It's also included, if you go back just one slide, it's also included as the QR code right there. And you could also email me for any questions. And please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to help support, and because together, that's how we can stop the expansion of immigration detention. And with that, I'll pass it back to Hui to help facilitate and for the rest of the Q&A section.
For sure. All right. And thank you, Tati. Thank you, Kim, for both sharing the information here. I recognize that the meeting's officially over at 8:30, but if there are any questions or you all want to ask, that we'll make ourselves available to answer those for you, okay? Pass it back to Celeste.
All right, let's give a big warm thank you, and thank you to everybody who stayed tonight. I know we ran a little bit over. I do want to let you know all of this is going to be available to you on the Google Drive, which I will share. Again, encourage you guys to get out there on the 13th, 14th, and participate in the action that's taking place in Gilroy. And one more big thank you for everybody. If you want to grab whistle kits, Lorenzo's at the back of the room. You can help distribute those. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you back here again in 2 weeks with South Bay Swing left. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, sweet. I'm gonna go lay down.
We didn't have time to get to, that's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Did you sell some stuff?
A few items,
Okay.
roughly, yeah.
Do you want to do it again with slides?
Yes.
At the very beginning, I'll have you do, can you send me slides and I'll have you do an announcement at the beginning of the meeting?
Yeah.
And then we'll direct people back there, and I want to get something, so I'm gonna come back there right now.
Yeah, and I did, yeah, hopefully I'll have a few more items next time too. I'm
Okay.
trying to get more. I did want to two things, I guess. Would you be able to include it in the
Slide deck?
in the slide deck and in the maybe your link tree as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, can you do me a favor and send it to me via anything that you want me to do? Send it to the Orchard City Indivisible
Okay,
email.
yeah.
And then I will get it.
Ask you also on here, what's the best way, what you prefer?
The email.
Okay.
Yeah, because I check it like all the way up to the end of
Good,
that day.
Yeah.
So send me whatever you want me to put on the link tree. I'll do that, including the fundraiser, the GoFundMe. I can put that on there.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, all of this goes to that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Send me
Perfect.
send me whatever you've got.
I'll send you definitely. And then